Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you guys are checking out this channel for the very first time and you're interested in becoming a model, you definitely want to hit that sub button because I make awesome videos on a weekly basis that you guys are going to love. All right, guys, so one of the very first steps to becoming a model is finding an agency, right? Getting represented by an agency, and an agency is pushing you out to their clients, and then you can start your modeling career. But how do you know what agency is right for you? Do you sign with a smaller boutique agency in your hometown? Or do you sign with a bigger agency in one of the fashion capitals like New York, for example? And is that the best move for your career? So I want to discuss some of the key differences between a smaller boutique agency versus a big agency, so that way you guys can really understand which one is best for you. Okay, so the first big difference between a top modeling agency and a smaller boutique agency is the requirements. If you're looking to sign into a top modeling agency, the requirements are extremely strict. So if you're a male or female model, you have to meet the heights and measurements requirements of these top agencies. If you're a male, the height requirement is usually between 5'11" to 6'3", and if you're female, it's typically 5'9", sometimes 5'8", but mostly 5'9" to 5'11". Now, if you don't meet the requirements, it's not impossible to get signed by a top modeling agency, but it's going to be extremely difficult for you to get scouted and noticed by these agencies. Now, on the other hand, a boutique modeling agency still has their own height requirements and their own measurement requirements. But the thing is that they have different categories of modeling. Like, for example, they have commercial modeling, they have lifestyle modeling, influencer modeling now. So there are different categories that they can put you guys into if you don't necessarily meet the height requirements for a high fashion model. Typically, a top modeling agency is primarily looking for high fashion models. So if you don't fit into the category for high fashion model, you might be better off starting with a boutique agency and then building your career from there. Another thing to mention is the age requirements. Now, there's no age limit on becoming a model. You can become a model whatever age. But typically, the older you get, especially if you're a female, the harder it is for you to become a model. So top modeling agencies typically prefer models who are in their 20s or younger, but of course, there are always some exceptions to that rule. Now, for boutique modeling agencies, there's almost no age limits. If they feel that you're marketable in a specific category, then they will be willing to represent you and push you out. Another major difference between boutique modeling agencies and top modeling agencies is the way you submit and get represented. For instance, both top modeling agencies and boutique modeling agencies, they all have online submissions. But you have to keep in mind that people from all over the country, all over the world are submitting online to the top modeling agencies because that's everyone's dream, to get represented by Wilhelmina, Elite, Next Models, you name it. So everyone is literally submitting and blasting those inboxes. So it's very difficult for the agents and the scouts to filter and go through all those online submissions. There are literally thousands, if not millions of submissions. So your chances of getting noticed via online submission is extremely slim, but it does happen, so keep those submissions going. For a boutique modeling agency, they don't get as much submissions as a top modeling agency, so your chances of actually getting your application looked at and your photos reviewed is very high. So if you're looking to sign to a top modeling agency, typically the best ways to get scouted, you can get scouted on Instagram, you can get scouted at events. I've mentioned that in some of my other videos. And then the absolute best way is to get referred. If you know a model that's already represented by the top agency that you want to go to, have that model refer you, or maybe even a photographer that you worked with, or anyone you know who has a relationship with some of the agents at that agency. Another thing to point out is your schedule. So if you sign with a smaller boutique agency, usually they're more understanding if you're in school, if you have a job, if you need to have that flexible schedule, they're typically willing to work with you. If you sign to a top modeling agency, some cases they're still willing to work with you, but literally they expect you to drop everything and focus on your modeling career. So a lot of times you see models who drop out of school, who quit their jobs. And even if you try to stay in school and try to keep your job and balance that modeling career, it's going to be very difficult because you're going to be going on go-sees so much that it's going to affect your school, it's going to affect your job. And so it's usually best to just kind of lay everything else aside and focus on your modeling career. If you sign with a top modeling agency and you're working, you can expect to travel a lot and constantly be going on go-sees that you literally won't have time for anything else other than modeling. Another major difference is the amount of models that these agencies represent. So for example, a smaller boutique agency might only represent up to 30 models. And maybe out of those 30 models, there's one other person or maybe two other people that have your look. While a bigger agency might have a board of 100 models, maybe even 200. And keep in mind, not all the models that they represent are featured on the website. However, they do try to feature most of them. So they might have a bigger board, like 100 models or 200 models. And then there are maybe 5 or 10 other people that look just like you. So in a situation like this, it's usually easier to build a relationship with your smaller boutique agents because they don't represent that many models and they can therefore pay more attention to you. They can respond faster to your emails and your phone calls or texts. Versus a bigger agency, they're usually overwhelmed. They're so busy. They have so much client work that just getting a hold of them could be really difficult. However, if you're with a top modeling agency and you're constantly booking, they would really pay attention to your career and make sure that you're developing and catering to your needs. So here's the thing, with a top modeling agency, they'll test you. They'll send you out on a few high profile go-sees or they'll submit your photos to some of their favorite clients. And if you don't book those first few castings, then what they end up doing is they end up shelving you or putting you on the development board, and then you're not getting called, you're not getting a lot of work, and you're just kind of like sitting there dormant. Another thing to mention is that with a top modeling agency, they almost have zero tolerance because one, they're dealing with big major clients. They are under constant stress and pressure. So if you miss a go-see or you can't make a casting or you need to cancel, there's almost zero tolerance for any kind of unprofessional attitude. So make sure that you're on top of your game and make sure that you're very professional when you're dealing with a top modeling agency. Dealing with a smaller boutique agency, you still need to be a professional, of course, but they're more understanding and more willing to work with you if something comes up, if you had to reschedule or you had an unfortunate event. They're more understanding and more willing to work with you. So in a sense, it's easier to build a relationship with a smaller boutique agency, and it almost feels like a partnership versus going to a top modeling agency where most of the time a lot of models feel pressured. They're in constant fear that they might get dropped or might get scolded. Now, one of the major benefits of signing with a top modeling agency is the exposure. Yes, you're gonna get tons of exposure. Even just being on the website, you're already getting tons of exposure. But then again, you're gonna get submitted to major fashion clients, major casting directors, and it's great for your career. All right, guys, so that's it for this video. I hope I was able to provide some clarity. If you guys have more questions, definitely drop a comment. I do read those comments and I appreciate them. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to sub. I'll see you guys in my next one.